Hey, welcome to another episode of Inquiring Minds. I am your host, Steve Harper, and with me, as always, is the incredible, amazing, spectacular Donna Carlin. Donna, how are you doing? I see
I'm
that
fine.
you're shaking your head. I love it.
A little over the top here, Steve, but I
I will
appreciate it.
blame it on my coffee. How about that? But no, I
Okay,
mean,
that works.
100% accurate on everything that I said. Let's
hmm
just be honest.
How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. I'm excited about today's conversation and today's topic. So what are we jumping into?
So this one I think is a really important topic, not that they all aren't. Who are you inviting into your life and who do you need to tell to take a hike?
Ooh, I love this. Yeah. So what inspired this topic?
I read a book a long time ago talking about who you inviting into your life. And one of the analogies was the stereotypical door person,
Yeah.
usually doorman in New York City, who guards the building like against all intruders. So they
Yeah.
want to know who are you visiting, why are you there, did that person tell you that that this person was coming? They're guarding that entranceway, and why
Yeah.
don't we do that in our lives? So we can't disavow people who've been in our lives, even in a negative way. We could allocate them to the forest reaches of our world that we don't pay attention to them or whatever. They will still influence our lives. So we start today. Who are we inviting into our lives? Are they people who will support us, honor us, respect us, etc.? Or are they those that want to take us apart, deplete us,
Take,
treat
take,
us
take from us. Yeah. Yep.
exactly? In which case, you don't let them in the first place. And
Yeah.
it's the triage, in other words, of how you let people in your life. And I always say to people, surround yourself with people who want to see you succeed and tell the others to take a hike.
Yeah. I like it.
And you could do it respectfully. You could say, with all due respect, please trust that I know what's best for me and I will make those choices. Thank you. And if they keep on telling you that you're an idiot and you don't know what you're doing, that's when you respectfully say, thank you, but this conversation is over.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
need it. You don't have to take that kind of attitude from somebody. We have enough of our inner critics. We don't need outer critics, right?
Yeah.
So, this is a good question. When you
It
meet
is.
somebody for the first time or you're going to interview for a job, ask yourself, is this somebody I want to see day in and day out?
Hmm.
Do I want to surround myself with this person's negative attitude just to get a job? Like all these things are really important questions. What do
They
you
are
think?
very important questions, and they're also things that I don't think a lot of us actually think about. We've actually been cultured now, because it's so easy for us to connect with just about anyone, anywhere in the world at this point. You're really only a few degrees of separation from anybody, which makes it very simple for us to send a LinkedIn request or a friend request or follow somebody on social. And I generally tell my folks, that when I train for the Ripple is that, when you add, connections, just, we've become this culture of connection hoarders, right? You see these shows about hoarding mentality, right? I have too many magazines or too many CDs. Don't get me started on what my wife says I hoard. So, but connections are just like that because we have this fear of missing out, the FOMO, right? The fear of missing out on a really positive connection. So we'll bring so many people into our LinkedIn or into these environments that we're spending time in. And I love your analogy, the room, the concept. Where am I at right now? What am I doing? And are the people here are they people that I'm committed to helping and serving? Or are they people that are committed to helping me in some capacity? Are they bringing value? And I think one of the challenges that a lot of us have is that we add so much noise because it becomes so easy for us to just add somebody to our network or to our, to leave the door open to our room that it eventually becomes so crowded you can't even see across the room any longer. And you just hear nothing but that just fervor of noise that everybody is tossing their opinions, their thoughts, etc. at you. And as you're talking about it, that's what people do to you in real life. It gets 10 times worse when you take it onto these outlying environments, LinkedIn,
Yeah.
Facebook, Twitter. And so I tell people that you really have to be very very cautious about who you invite into your networks. I get a lot of criticism because I tell people I just generally don't let anybody I don't know or can't personally vouch for into my LinkedIn. Why? Because a lot of times you end up bringing people in that don't really have any motivation to get to know you, but they want to get to know somebody you know. And I had this happen years and years ago where a really important client of mine had been reached out to by somebody that I had let into my network that really had intentions of trying to sell that individual. And
Mm.
unbeknownst to me, this conversation was happening saying, Steve suggested that we get together because I've got this great concept that I think you'd be interested in. Think multi-level marketing. If you just, and
Wow.
if that CEO that was a good friend of mine hadn't actually had the courage to tell me, like, wait a second, why are you sending this person my way? I'm like, wait, I didn't, right? But if that conversation hadn't happened, imagine if it was an important client or an important colleague who doesn't say something. You immediately diminish the relationship that you have with that person because of what this other person is doing. So I'm always very guarded and very intentional about who I welcome into my room because out of the nature or an abundance of caution, you have to be.
I speak a lot, as you know, at all kinds of events, and a lot of people want to connect with me afterwards.
Yep.
And
It's
they
because you're a
tell me,
rock star.
yeah, yeah, they want to learn from me, which is perfectly fine. And I will connect with them. You try to sell something to me, no, you're not going to stay a connection for long. That's the first thing. The second thing is some people will reach out and they'll send me like an email, or they'll say that
Oh,
they want
yeah.
to connect with me, and I will write them back saying, why are you wanting to connect with me? What is it that you're looking for?
Yeah. What specifically? What's your
Often
motivation? Yep.
I don't get an answer. So that's telling me they're just checking off the list to increase their network, in which
Yeah.
case I don't accept. If they tell me something that resonates with me, I'll connect with them.
Yep.
I am tired of people in my own field telling me that they have the secret sauce to success for people in our field. And I go, I've been doing this for 38 years. If you don't
Yeah.
think that I know like what I'm doing by now, I'm in big trouble.
That's
So
right.
39 years actually next month. So you look at this and you wonder, I don't want to be a checkbox for people to want to sell me something. If they intrigue me, I will look into them, and if they're writing something that intrigues me, I will buy their book.
Yeah.
Don't connect with me to sell something to me. That is not a relationship. I think we forget that social media, for me anyway, I know people are going to disagree with me, is about relationships. It's
Yep.
about having a voice, yes, but also listening to other people's voices.
That's right.
And it could be an extraordinary learning platform if you read what people are saying, what the current flavor of the month is, all of that kind of
Sure.
stuff.
Sure.
The bottom line is, though, you accept somebody in your life, you're accepting them for everything that they bring to the table, whether in real life, social media, or any kind of peripheral groups, that kind of thing. You will be influenced consciously and unconsciously by their points of view. So make sure you surround yourself with people whose points of view you respect.
Well, and to carry that point even one step further, you're also judged by the people that you bring into
Yes.
your network in your room. And so a lot of times we have no idea whether a client's evaluating whether they want to work with us. Who is this person spending time with? How are they interacting? Who are they engaged with? And those things, most people don't think about that, especially if you're trying to get a job or, how people's perception is of your brand or your company or whatever your role might be. People that are a bit more like us will do our homework about who we're talking to or who we might be engaged in business or some sort of interaction with. And we start looking at those things. And unfortunately, people will make judgments based on who you surround yourself with, right? And like you said, you are the sum total of the people that you're spending the vast majority of time with, which is how you sort of, what fosters and dictates the attitudes that you have and the approach, and sometimes that's good, but a lot of times it can be bad.
The other thing is, and I know we're going to get pushback for this, some people are going to say there are people in our lives that we can't get rid of or we can't tell to take a hike. Family members, my boss, that kind of thing. And I get this all the time. You can, however, redefine what that relationship is like. You
Absolutely.
can, however, set boundaries. If you're in a job where you're being demeaned and minimized and treated like garbage, then look for another job. That's what
Yep.
I tell people.
Absolutely.
Or even another team within the organization if you really like what they stand for.
That's right.
Don't wait until they diminish you to such an extent that it impacts your reputation.
Yeah.
That's the first thing. Family members, again, just because they're blood does not mean that you take all kinds of garbage from them, and redefine exactly what that relationship looks like, what you're willing to give, and what you're willing to receive.
Yep.
You can do that. It's harder with family than it is with external relationships,
Yeah.
because family you're connected with and you can't, quit your job. That's a different story. So have a talk with them and redefine and tell them what their attitude has done for you and to you over the years and what you would like it to be, and invite them to change.
Yep.
Start there, because that's the first step before telling them to take a hike.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really powerful. I mean, I share with my clients the same mindset. If you're in environments where you are feeling, you're being placed in a position where you don't feel, like you can be the best part of yourself, then you're not in the best environment. And I think that that's ultimately the message I give with people when they're thinking about all those environments that build up your network. If you don't have people that constantly motivate you or inspire you or make you better in some capacity, look at those folks and say, okay, am I committed to building that relationship with them? And if so, I see something in them maybe they don't see in themselves. What am I going to do that? And how committed will I be? There's a really good way to sort of evaluate, are they going to make the cut or not, right? Number one. Number two is always continually focus on those relationships that are important to you, because you want to continue to invest in them. You want to continue to put that time, energy, and focus, because you want more of that. And when you do that, you tend to get even bigger returns on those relationships, right? The ones that'll be the takers, the ones that aren't there to support you, that are really not your fan, or are the naysayers or the negativity that comes into your world, you figure out really quickly who those people are, and you find ways to set up your barriers to prevent them. It's super easy in business to be able to not engage with people that no longer, that you can tell have motivations that are no longer supporting you. Because people are, it's hard for them to change their colors, if you will. They generally come across as non-authentic individuals, and those are the people that you remove from your network. And you have to cull that herd from time to time. I hate to say that, but it's really an important activity. I tell people to go through their LinkedIn or those social networks where they're spending their time and look at these people. Am I getting something of this? Am I able to contribute or add value to this relationship? If not, move them from a connection to someone that you follow potentially, or they're not ever going away. You'll always be able to come back and re-engage with them down the road, but you don't need that noise and you don't need that distraction, and you may not need that
Yeah,
person in your life today.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, we could talk for days on this topic because it's an important one. We would love to hear what your perspective is. Thank you so much for watching us on YouTube and, paying attention to what we're talking about in this capacity. If you happen to be listening to us on, the podcast, the various podcast platforms, thank you so much. We'd love to hear your feedback on this topic. We have a Facebook page, Inquiring Minds with Donna Carlin and Steve Harper, that you can find us. Join that group. Help become part of this conversation. Let us know how you're dealing with these types of individuals in your world. And then, Donna, how else can people reach us to maybe suggest other topics or things that they'd like us to cover in a future episode?
You could read us through our website. Steve could be found at ripplecentral.com. I'm at donnacarlin.com with a K. And we'd love to hear from you. And we'd also love to hear what happened when you told somebody to take a hike. What happened in your life and how relieved you felt. So share some of your stories with us as well.
That might be a great follow-up episode just for us, because I know you and I
Yeah.
have personal experience in this, and you know me, I just had somebody that I had to jettison because they were no longer supporting me. That might be a follow-up sequel to this particular episode at some point in the very near future. All right. Well,
So
listen, thank you so much for this conversation. As always, you get me thinking, get me, looking at things from a completely different perspective, as I know you do all of our audience. And so grateful for these conversation opportunities, Donna.
you take care and you have a phenomenal day.
You as well. See ya.